Coming up, Arvest Bank donates $2,000 to Carl Junction School District's Therapy Dog program.
Skywatch storm tracker is clear right now. That's really not actually happening. But how long is it going to stay that way? The latest in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the U.S. Department of Agriculture changes up how food banks can purchase and distribute locally grown food.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So, woke up this morning. I always have a nice little story to tell at 5 o'clock in the morning. Go out to my car, unlock it, I get in it, everything's fine, put the key in, doesn't turn over.
Oh no.
So I spent more time searching for my wife's purse and her keys so I could get her car, move it, and jumpstart my car than I did actually jumpstarting the car because the battery wasn't completely dead, just wasn't enough to start the car. Did
you leave the lights on? Or?
Yeah, actually she messaged me just now because she's usually not up this early. I tried not to wake her up and she messages me, yeah, the bathroom light was on and the door was wide open, so I'll go back to sleep soon, but don't do that. So she was a little upset. The whole point of me trying, searching for a purse was not wake her up, and I woke her up anyway. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Yeah. Forecast is looking pretty good actually for today. Skywatch storm tracker is clear locally. I mean, even zooming out, you can see there's not a lot of activity on there right now. 7th and range line, skies are clear. There's actually a little patchy fog out there, so as you start your day, do be wary of some fog in some low-lying areas. 72 degrees in Joplin right now, and check it out. Look at some of these temperatures up north as promised. Look, we're in the 60s in Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada. Rest of us sitting in the lower 70s. And then today, the good news is temperature's been scaled back a couple of degrees. Not going to be quite as hot today. 91 for an afternoon high. A warming trend will begin, but you won't notice it tonight. Check out these overnight lows. We're talking mid to upper 60s for overnight lows with a nice calm wind. It's just going to be an absolutely clear, gorgeous night. But there are warmer temperatures on the way. We'll talk about those a little bit later, but at least we're getting one more day. Yesterday we didn't think we'd get one more day, but today's not going to be so bad.
We'll take it.
We absolutely will. Nice rain, a little bit of fog this morning. Now a pretty decent day ahead.
All right, we'll look forward to that for sure. All right, hopefully you can get your battery situation figured out.
Yeah, I'm just going to go kick it a couple of times. That usually solves that. Or duct tape. Duct tape fixes everything.
It does. It does. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a tractor-trailer accident in Jasper County takes the life of the driver. At about 1 Tuesday afternoon, authorities responded to reports of a serious crash on Baseline Boulevard near Civil War Road. Mark Tidwell, who was 64 years old, was driving a 1988 Freightliner pulling a lime spreader west on Baseline Boulevard when his vehicle went off the right side of the road and overturned. The driver was ejected from his vehicle. Authorities pronounced Tidwell dead at the scene. The Jasper County coroner claimed the body and next of kin was notified. A local trucking business celebrates its female drivers. On Tuesday, Joplin-based CFI unveils a new wrap on one of its trucks featuring a custom design for the company's She Drives CFI program. Officials say the program recognizes the professional excellence of its female drivers, as well as encouraging more women to choose trucking as a career.
You have a pool of workers here, women drivers. You have a shortage of drivers, and whether they be young women drivers or they be empty nesters, you have this pool. Why are you not using this pool of drivers? So it's to encourage the women.
CFI rolled out its first commemorative truck wrap in 2018. Well, they say a dog is a man's best friend, and they're really anyone's best friend, including students. The Carl Junction School District has a therapy dog program where dogs interact with students to provide comfort and reduce frustration, anxiety, and stress. On Tuesday, Arvest Bank's Arvest Foundation donated $2,000 to the school program.
To watch a student with a dog is magical. It calms their nerves, their demeanor changes. Sometimes they sit on the floor. I've seen students sit on the floor and hug the dog, and they don't even have to speak. Dog isn't, expected to do tricks. They just sit there and let a student love on them, and that's why we're there.
Donation goes towards the purchase of dogs. The Carl Junction Educational Foundation donated $1,500 towards the training of the dogs. Well, the city of Pittsburgh approves a $100,000 grant to support the city's homeless population. On Tuesday, city commissioners accepted the Emergency Solutions Grant from the Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. It will provide funding for homeless services within the community, including rent and utility subsidies through June of next year.
It makes everybody feel great. I mean, just listening to them, knowing that we are at the Housing Authority doing a great thing, because sometimes we don't hear that, and it's nice to hear it from the city council, city commissioners, that we are doing a great job.
City's homeless services are operating in partnership with the Wesley House. Cherokee County Clerk announces a mistake with a county election. County Clerk Rebecca Brassard discovered that the thumb drives containing the voting data for District 1 County Commissioner race malfunctioned. Now, officials say the drives improperly switched votes cast for incumbent Mira Frazier and attributed them to challenger Lance Nichols. Brassard said the drives worked properly during testing.
Unfortunately, there was no way to know. The testing didn't show it. Putting them in the ECM didn't show it. Unfortunately, there was just no way for us to know without doing that post-audit, which I believe is why the Secretary of State's office has put that into play. It became in play, I believe, in January of 2019. And so it's something fairly new, but it's to ensure the integrity of elections.
Lockwood Elections is responsible for programming the thumb drives, and next Monday, Cherokee County will continue the certification of results. On Tuesday, Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis spoke about last week's primary election. Davis spoke to the Joplin Kiwanis Club. It was the first public discussion about the system procedures, problems, and solutions pertaining to the August 2nd election. Turnout and future election procedurals were also discussed.
So Kiwanis Club, of course, raises money for children. Some of them raise money for Ronald McDonald House. Some of them raise money for other different children endeavors.
A raffle was held at the luncheon for people who donated money at the event. The winner received a bronze gift card. The U.S. Department of Agriculture last week announced its new local food purchase assistance cooperative agreement program, which allows food banks to purchase and distribute locally grown food from underserved producers to 4-state residents. Now, a local food pantry director says this is not directly affecting him, but will be beneficial. He says once the Kansas Food Bank gets items from the farmers, they would most likely share it with his food pantry as well. Some items he believes they would get are, for example, corn and watermelons.
Once the Kansas Food Bank gets a supply of the produce from the local farmers, they're going to share it with their fellow pantries.
David Gillen wants to wait to see how the agreement will affect them, especially when he places new food orders from the food bank.
Taking a look at the future track, temperatures today will start to warm up, but they will not do so very rapidly. We're only going to be pushing about 90 degrees, 91 for an afternoon high. But as you can also see on the future track, look at that. It's just completely clear. And then it gets downright chilly tonight. We're talking the mid 60s, lower 60s for overnight lows. But don't worry, if you're missing the warm temperatures, they will come back. And by the start of next week, we'll be pushing highs back into the lower 100s. So if you miss the warm temperatures, they're coming back. If you don't like them, then today is probably your best day to get out there and enjoy the weather.
We got a few more in the 90s and then back to the 100s.
But you do see, we still have that chance of storms by midweek next week. So hopefully
Yeah, and
that
if you
holds
switch
on.
that to the 10, we'd see it goes back down a little too.
Yeah, in fact, we can do that. See, take a look at those numbers.
That looks better. There you
Yeah,
go.
that
Today I'm
looks a
asking
lot
you to put
better.
the 10 up as much as possible.
I will try and make everybody as happy as you can. So, and that's the other good thing is it's only, what, 3 days of triple-digit temperatures,
Yeah.
maybe 4, so it's not bad.
We're getting used to that, unfortunately.
But the nice thing is we're getting breaks in between, so that's
Yes.
helpful.
All right. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we get a preview of what Joplin's football team has to offer this year.
Plus, Missouri plans to put legalization of marijuana on the ballot for voters to decide on.
And rainwater is not safe to drink, and we're going to tell you why. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, Joplin Eagles are in the middle of their first week of football practice. Joplin is coming off another big year, going 10-2 overall in 2021. On the defensive side, plenty of new faces this year for the Eagles after losing 9 of 11 starters from last season. Now, they do return All-State linebacker Draven Van Gilder on that side. As for the offense, they have a two-headed monster in the backfield returning in Quinn Renfro and Drew Van Gilder. It's a new quarterback for Joplin, though, with the junior Hobbs Gooch leading the offense this fall.
Hobbs' work ethic is fantastic. His coachability is great. He got that start in the districts last year and was able to lead us to a big win. So we're really excited about where he's at this point in time. We understand he's still got a lot of work to do, and he understands that, and he's here every day putting in that work and building those leadership skills because he understands what it takes to lead this offense. He had a good one to study under last year, and so he understands.
Well, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas are also on the field for their opening week of fall practice. The Gorillas are coming off an 8-3 season and will open their schedule on September 1st. On offense, the Gorillas return all 5 guys on the offensive line, including 3 who earned all MIAA honors last season. Behind that offensive line, Pitt State returns running back Caleb Lewis. As a freshman last year, Lewis was second on the team in rushing, posting 547 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he's spent the summer making sure he's even better this fall.
He is a little bit bigger, he's a little bit stronger, maybe just a little bit more powerful as in anything that you always look for in a running back. So we're just looking for him to, maybe instead of carrying the ball 10 or 11 times, he's carrying it 20 or 21 times. And he brings a lot of versatilities too. We can get him the ball out of the backfield, and he's going to have to continue to progress as a good pass protector as well.
And the football theme continues. The Missouri Southern Lions are also less than a month from their season opener. They'll open the season on September 1st at home against Nebraska Kearney. 2022 will be their second full MIAA season under head coach Atiba Bradley. And here he is on where his team is at compared to this time in 2021.
When you compare it to 365 days ago, we are light years beyond where we were. We're so mature in our knowledge, we're so mature in our assignments, and just the expectations is higher. We weren't talking about, hey, you got to get taped, you got to do this, you got to do that. It was like, guys had an understanding of what they were supposed to do and when they were supposed to do it, which is a good feeling.
Kansas City Royals playing a doubleheader against the White Sox. Down 1 here. Vinny Pasquantino drills one deep off Lance Lynn. 2-run jack. Royals have their first lead. In the 6th inning, Nick Prado with a runner on. He does the same thing. Prado 3 for 4 on the day. Kansas City gets the lead to 4-1. Brady Singer settles in on the mound after that. 7 1/3 for Singer. 6 strikeouts, allowing just 1 run. Royals take game 1, 4-2. So game 2, Royals trying to sweep the day. That game is final. It was a good one, but Kansas City falls 3-2. Vinny Pasquantino, another home run in this one for the Royals. These two teams will meet again tonight at 7:30. Still to come, Domino's is pulling out of Italy. I'll tell you why. Plus, we're going to take a look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Skywatch storm tracker this morning is high and dry, and that is how we will remain for the next several days. You got to zoom out pretty far to find any kind of activity, say northeastern Arkansas down into southeastern Oklahoma, but around our area, there's really not much to talk about. Clear skies, the sun's not up yet, but trust me, these skies are clear. We do have some patchy fog, though, in some of the low-lying areas. So as you start your commute, do be wary of that. Watch out for those foggy spots. Otherwise, 72, clear skies. As we start the day, we got our cool spots back in the north. Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, all sitting pretty close to 70 or slightly below. Everyone else in the lower 70s to start the day, which is a nice way to start the day. And as we go through, temperatures will warm up, but they're not going to warm up fast and not going to warm up a whole bunch. As we go through the day, we'll have partly cloudy skies, and then it'll be mostly clear here. 91 is the expected afternoon high, and as we go into tonight, it's going to be downright chilly for this time of year. For August, we're going into the mid to even lower 60s in some spots. under nice, quiet, calm skies. And a very quick look at the 7-day forecast, though, shows if you have missed the heat, it starts to build back in tomorrow and Friday. And as we head into the weekend and next week, temperatures get back into the lower 100s. But you can see on Tuesday, we do have the possibility of some showers and storms. So it's only a little bit of hot weather before we get back to another break with some rain. Well, there'll be more than just politicians on the ballot in this year's midterm elections in Missouri. Now, various states will also have ballot initiatives, including the one here in Missouri, seeking to legalize recreational marijuana. Missouri Secretary of State announced Tuesday the initiative petition garnered enough signatures to head to voters. It would amend the state constitution to make marijuana legal for personal use for anyone over 21. Jackson Kurtz reports.
Just an ID and to be over 21 years old is all you need to buy marijuana products in Missouri.
I think it's just a matter of time for really almost any state at this point.
That's if Missourians vote to legalize recreational cannabis. Fresh Green Dispensary was one of the local dispensaries leading the charge to get enough signatures to get the weed question on the ballot. The locally owned business believes it will pass.
There will be lines, but I don't think it will be what people saw in the news in the beginning. I think it will be a long line, but manageable.
For people who disagree that it shouldn't be legalized and think it causes different sets of problems, the dispensary says the lack of crimes near the store should help public perception.
I'm hoping that will maybe sway some of those people to at least, even if they're not pro-marijuana and pro-cannabis usage, maybe they will at least see that it has not been a bad thing for the community.
If it passes, it also puts a 6% sales tax on the drug and lets people grow prescribed amounts of marijuana with a license.
A ballot measure would also affect people with certain marijuana. The lights are freaking out a little bit. You know, it just needs another 40-watt bulb. But anyway, it includes marijuana-related nonviolent offenses. They would be able to petition to be released from prison, parole, or probation and have their records expunged. That brings us to our something to talk about. Do you think that marijuana should be legal everywhere? It's a simple yes or no. You can vote, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Do so in the app and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We're back with Healthwatch after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, a new study finds it can be a struggle for those suffering with hepatitis C to receive treatment in a timely manner. Researchers at the UC Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are behind the study. They looked at about 48,000 patients who tested positive for the potentially life-threatening disease from 2019 to late 2020. The research found while treatment is highly effective and often curative, about a third of privately insured patients receive it within a year of diagnoses. The percentage dropped even further for patients on Medicare or Medicaid. Hepatitis C spreads through contact with infected blood, and it can increase a person's risk of liver disease, cancer, and death if left untreated. U.S. Food and Drug Administration is warning online retailers about selling products marketed for removing moles and skin tags. The FDA has sent warning letters to Amazon, Ariella Naturals, and Justified Laboratories that some of their products are not FDA approved, and if the companies do not address the violations within 15 days, they could face legal action. There are no FDA-approved over-the-counter drug products for the removal of moles and skin tags. The agency says the sale of those products is a public health risk that can cause injuries and scarring. The FDA also issued a consumer warning about the products. The agency asked any consumers or healthcare professionals to report any adverse effects to the FDA's MedWatch Adverse Event Reporting Program. Well, researchers say rainwater across the globe should be considered unsafe to drink because of the presence of what are known as forever chemicals. That's based on U.S. environmental protection standards for levels of the thousands of chemicals that do not break down and are continuously cycled through the environment. A study by Stockholm University and ETH Zurich University concludes there's likely no part of the world unaffected by the contamination, saying the chemicals have been found in Antarctica and in the Tibetan Plateau. Researchers show the chemicals, known as PFAs, may be associated with a number of health risks, including cancer. The lead researcher said in the industrial world, people do not often drink rainwater, but many people around the world do and expect it to be safe. It supplies many drinking water sources. Being part of a sports team is a good way to keep kids active, allow them to make friends, learn teamwork, and have fun. But it can be hard to figure out which sport fits best with a child. Mandy Gaither has more on what parents should know about that decision.
The fall sports season has kicked off. Taking part can be fun and healthy.
Keep physical fitness for children a positive experience.
Pediatric sports medicine Dr. Elizabeth Davis with Orlando Health says the best way to get your child interested in a sport is to let them choose.
Or if a child sees on TV gymnastics or figure skating or football and they decide, I want to try that, let them try that.
If your child doesn't have a preference, Davis says parents should let them try several sports.
Sign them up for a few lessons and see if they like it. If they like it, great, they can stick with it. If they don't like it, then it's something that you don't have to sign them up for the next season, and then they can move on to something else.
At times, children may lose interest in a sport. Davis says a parent will always know best, but in general, children should honor their commitment.
You really should encourage your child, unless they're in a dangerous situation or they're getting hurt or you're really concerned for their safety, that they really do need to finish the season.
Since not everyone does well on a team, Davis says kids can also try a sport that's more individualized, like swimming, golf, or tennis.
You're still going to see the same benefits from a health perspective because they're still having to practice, they're still having to exert themselves and get that physical activity.
Sometimes it's hard to know when to start a child in a sport. Davis says it's usually best to start them when they can follow directions and their attention span is longer. She suggests around the age of 4. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Well, after a rumbly start to the day yesterday, today considerably calmer. We've got some fog in some low-lying areas around the area, but otherwise clear skies. And in Joplin, it is clear. 72 degrees as we start the day. A very pleasant way to start our Wednesday out. Most of us are in the lower 70s, as you can see, Nowata, Welch, Miami, 71, and then a couple of 72s. A little bit cooler up north, Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott sitting in the upper 60s. So again, a very pleasant way to start the day. Now it is going to warm up today, but it's not going to warm up nearly as much as we were originally anticipating, which is good. We're talking highs going about 91 degrees. But as you can see, we'll have some partly cloudy skies, and once that kind of clears out, we'll have mostly clear skies. Now, there will be a warming trend that builds in, but not just yet. As we head into the overnight, it's going to be downright chilly for August standards, going into the mid to even lower 60s in some places with a light east breeze at about 5 to 10. On the 7-day, that's where you can see by tomorrow it starts to warm up heading into Friday. Then it really starts to warm up heading into next week as well as we start to get back into the lower 100s. But we still have some storm chances by midweek next week, which will then result in a break in these temperatures yet again. So we can bear a few degree days as long as we get a little break, and that's what it's looking like. We got more of the KOAM Morning News coming right up.
Coming up, Arvest Bank donates $2,000 to Carl Junction School District's Therapy Dog Program.
You got to go pretty far out to find any kind of precipitation on the Skywatch storm tracker. How warm will it be today, and does the heat make a return? The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the U.S. Department of Agriculture changes up how food banks can purchase and distribute locally grown food.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:33. I'm Tanya Buck.
And I'm Chris Warner. So we had a pretty bumpy start to the day yesterday. Today, it's nice, it's quiet, it's calm, it's cool. It's not too bad for an August day, especially coming up on mid-August. Can you believe we're already getting that far into August? It's already August the 10th.
I had to turn my AC off in my car on the way in. It was too chilly.
See, that's the
a
kind
good
of day
thing.
we
That's a
like,
good
especially for August. Skywatch Storm Tracker showing nothing in our immediate area. You gotta go pretty far out to find any kind of precipitation. We do have some fog in low-lying areas across the region, but otherwise clear skies. 7th and Range Line looking pretty good, 72 in Joplin right now, and that's exactly what it feels like. We got some cooler temperatures up north. Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada sitting in the upper 60s. Everyone else is in the lower 70s. Columbus at 72, so is Miami and Neosho. 71 in Anderson, though. But otherwise, not a bad start to the day whatsoever. And as we go through, it's going to warm up. 91 for an afternoon high. Not nearly as hot as it could be this time of year, but still kind of hot. And then tonight, it's going to be almost cold. we're talking lows in the mid 60s, maybe even some lower 60s out there just to start tomorrow. But if you've missed the warm temperatures, they're going to come back. But what's nice about this pattern we're in is, yeah, we're heating up to those triple digits, and then we get this break of rain and cooler temperatures, and then it'll warm up again. And that seems to be what's going on. So in the 7-day forecast a little later, we'll show you our next break. We'll show you when it's going to get hot again. We'll also talk about that next break from those warm temperatures.
All right, sounds like a plan.
I have many plans. They're not always good, but I have many plans.
Some of them we want to know about, the other ones maybe not so much.
I don't know that I want to know about some of them.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a tractor-trailer accident in Jasper County takes the life of the driver. At about 1 on Tuesday afternoon, authorities responded to reports of a serious crash on Baseline Boulevard near Civil War Road. 64-year-old Mark Tidwell was driving a 1988 Freightliner, pulling a lime spreader west on Baseline Boulevard when his vehicle went off the right side of the road and overturned. The driver was ejected from his vehicle. Authorities pronounced Tidwell dead at the scene. The Jasper County coroner claimed the body, and next of kin was notified. City of Pittsburgh approves a $100,000 grant to support the city's homeless population. On Tuesday, city commissioners accepted the Emergency Solutions Grant from the Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. It will provide funding for homeless services within the community, including rent and utility subsidies, through June of next year.
Half of it comes to rapid rehousing and homeless prevention. So that helps individuals, like I said, that are homeless or about to become homeless. We can offer them up to 3 months of rental assistance, utility deposits, security deposits, along with some help with some application fees.
City's homeless services are operating in partnership with the Wesley House. Cherokee County Clerk announces a mistake with a county election. County Clerk Rebecca Brasser discovered that the thumb drives containing the voting data for District 1 County Commissioner malfunctioned. Officials say the drives improperly switched votes cast for incumbent Mira Frazier and attributed them to challenger Lance Nichols. Brassard says the drives worked properly during testing.
So what we've done is we've actually had a hand count come in, and so I actually had it done twice just to ensure the integrity of those numbers and that they were all correct.
Lockwood Elections is responsible for programming the thumb drives, and next Monday, Cherokee County will continue the certification of the results. On Tuesday, Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis spoke about last week's primary election. Davis spoke to the Joplin Kiwanis Club. It was the first public discussion about the system procedures, problems, and solutions pertaining to the August 2nd election. Turnout and future election procedurals were also discussed during the event.
One of the things we do is I come to the local Kiwanis clubs, the Rotary clubs, and I just educate people about the election process. And of course, the question and answer time that we have kind of answers questions that people have that might concern them about the election.
Kiwanis Club is the oldest club in the state of Missouri, and it raises money to help children. Well, Kansas has made an agreement with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to allow food banks to purchase and distribute locally grown food from underserved producers to Kansas residents. KOAM's Yana Hatula has more.
The Kansas Local Food Purchase Agreement was recently agreed to help the families in need access fresh food from the farms. David Gillen from a local food pantry says, "This is a good thing even though it doesn't directly affect the pantries."
I think they have already getting more stuff from the Kansas Food Bank. I've looked at their page. They've got a bunch of watermelons they're going to give out. They've got sweet corn and different items, but we're going to have to wait till it gets our turn to get some of that.
Gillen's Food Pantry has about 300 families they are serving. Every month, the food pantry receives a delivery from the Kansas Food Bank, including fresh items. These items are given out to families quickly so they don't get spoiled.
Fresh, it smells like a crisp mountain air.
Some farmers would like to participate in the agreement but are not able to do so because they don't belong to a stakeholder coalition in order to have their products to be purchased. Anthony Fisher thinks the food banks should be able to get money and go to places to purchase items themselves.
And allow the food banks to go, say, to the farmer's market and buy out all the produce at the end of a day's sales, or even talk to a farmer directly and buy off produce. Then it would make an impact. You're going to decrease carbon footprints. You're going to offer a higher quality product that has a longer shelf life.
Fisher says the agreement does not help all the local farmers directly.
Well, they want to strengthen the supply chain where everybody gets a nickel here and a dollar there instead of it going directly to the farmer, who is the source of that food chain.
He wishes for a change that the farmers can sell directly to another program to benefit from it.
And take that raw amount of money and make more on it. They can buy more land. They can produce more food.
In Southeast Kansas, Janna Hautala, KOAM News.
You can find more information about the program on U.S. Department of Agriculture's website.
So, taking a look at the future track, we talked about some changes that are coming up. As you can see through today, it's going to be clear. It's hot, but not as hot as it should be for this time of year, so we'll definitely take that. And look at these overnight lows dropping into the lower 60s for some of us, which is going to be very, very nice. And on the 7-day, though, you can see where the warming trend begins as we head into tomorrow and through the weekend. Lower 100s return by next week, but you see Tuesday, storm chances build, and they continue into Wednesday, and they drop those temperatures down quite nicely as well. So we get another break from the 100-degree temperatures. So maybe 3 or 4 days of 100-degree weather, and then we get another break. So I think we can manage, 100-degree weather so long as we get a break, which is not what we got last month. It was just... This time, we're getting little pauses here and there.
There you go. Well, this morning, we are discussing legalizing marijuana. Just an ID, and you have to be over 21. That's all you need to buy marijuana products in Missouri. That is, if Missourians vote to legalize recreational cannabis. If this measure passes, it also puts a 6% sales tax on the drug, lets people grow prescribed amounts of marijuana with a license.
That brings us to our something to talk about this morning. Do you think that marijuana should be legal everywhere? It's a simple yes or no vote. So far, 73% of you say yes, 27% saying no. Remember, you can vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app, and of course, take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
All right, well, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. The police arrest an unusual suspect for breaking into an apartment.
Plus, the fire caused by a lightning strike rages on in Cuba. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Worldwatch, at least one firefighter died and 14 more people are missing in Matanzas, Cuba, as firefighters continue to work around the clock to contain the fire in an oil storage facility. The fire resulted from lightning damaging 4 out of 8 oil tanks. Video shows area homes have been deeply impacted by the fires and thick, toxic smoke. As of Tuesday night, the blaze was not fully controlled, but Cuban authorities advise progress has been made in its containment. After 10 days of intense rescue operations, 2 miners were finally rescued Tuesday, trapped in Dominican Republic. Carlos Yepes Ospina and Gregoris Alexander Mendez Torres remain trapped in the Cerro de Mon mine after a landslide. That's according to the Dominican Mining Corporation. An American pizza chain is pulling out of Italy. Domino's Pizza is shutting down the last of its locations in the home of pizza. Comes after it opened as many as 33 locations there starting in 2015 through a franchising agreement with Italian company ePizza Spa. The company planned to open as many as 800 locations and distinguish itself with a structured national delivery service and American-style toppings, including pineapple. Things didn't go as planned. Domino's faced tough competition from mom and pops expanding delivery services during the pandemic, and restaurants reopening after pandemic shutdowns. The company also sought protection from creditors after it ran out of cash and fell behind on its debt obligations. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A tractor-trailer accident in Jasper County takes the life of the driver. At about 1 on Tuesday afternoon, authorities responded to reports of a serious crash on Baseline Boulevard near Civil War Road. 64-year-old Mark Tidwell was driving a 1988 Freightliner, pulling a lime spreader west on Baseline Boulevard when his vehicle went off the right side of the road and overturned. The driver was ejected from his vehicle. Authorities pronounced Tidwell dead at the scene. Jasper County coroner claimed the body. Next of kin was notified. Cherokee County Clerk announces a mistake with a county election. County Clerk Rebecca Brasser discovered the thumb drives containing the voting data for District 1 County Commissioner malfunction. Officials say the drives improperly switched votes cast for incumbent Mira Frazier and attributed them to challenger Lance Nichols. Brassert says the drives worked properly during testing. And recreational cannabis will appear on Missouri's ballot this November. If voters decide to legalize recreational cannabis, Missouri will become the 20th state to legalize and tax the drug. However, some people believe Missouri should keep cannabis for medical use only. And on Tuesday, Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis spoke about last week's primary election. Davis spoke to the Joplin Kiwanis Club. It was the first public discussion about the system procedures, problems, and solutions pertaining to the August 2nd election. Turnout and future election procedurals will also be discussed. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We've got a really nice start to the day across the area. As you can see, we've got temperatures in the mid-60s up north, Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, sitting in the mid-60s. A little further south, it's a pinch warmer this morning. We're talking about 72 in Carthage and Joplin, 71 Columbus, 74 in Parsons. A very nice start to an August morning, considering how warm it had been in July and how warm it could be this time of year. Now, it's still going to get hot today, but not as hot as August should be. We're talking 91 for an afternoon high, some lower 90s across the board. We're going to have partly cloudy skies that'll eventually clear out and be really nice. And the temperatures, by the way, they're going to slowly creep up to that point. And then there's a warming trend that'll begin, which we'll talk about in the 7-day forecast. As we go through the night, mostly clear skies. Temperatures getting cold by August standards. We're talking mid-60s. Maybe even some lower 60s to start your Thursday morning with a nice light east breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. The future track has really not much to show us other than these mild for August temperatures across the region. We cool off very nicely as we head into the overnight. By tomorrow morning, there's some of those lower 60s. Fort Scott, Iola. Pretty chilly start for the day, again, for August standards. But then it's going to warm back up tomorrow, so we're talking more lower 90s, maybe even some mid-90s out in parts of southeast Kansas. Now, on the 7-day forecast, starting tomorrow, you see where temperatures start to warm up. And then, as I step out of the way, they really creep up going into the weekends. We're talking lower 100s by Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But check out Tuesday, there's a chance of some showers and thunderstorms, and that builds into Wednesday. And because of that system, kind of like what we saw yesterday, it's going to kick those temperatures down by about 11 degrees and hold them in the lower 90s through most of next week. So warm temperatures, yes, but then a nice break by the end of next week. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
A wild turkey broke through a second-story window at the City Walk Apartments in Wausau on Friday, causing the police to come to rescue the bird and release it.
How in the world did it get to the second-floor window? Huh, well, we're going to find out because Drew Sutherland has that story.
It's a turkey, not a tiger.
Yeah, it's gonna scratch, dude. Have you hunted turkey before?
Doris Madden lives at City Walk Apartments. She was suspicious Friday when she noticed a second-floor apartment with a window broken in.
We had no idea what had caused it, or if anybody was even home.
She called the apartment manager who got maintenance to investigate.
When he opened the door, there's the turkey. And so he thought, I'm not going to try to catch that thing. So he called the police station for animal control.
And they just try to have to do the best that they can with information that they have and the equipment available to them.
Even in unfamiliar territory, the officers on the call did their best to keep themselves and the bird safe. They used long gloves and a fishing net to catch it.
We have a humane officer, so a lot of times the first response in any call, including animal calls, are our patrol officers.
Captain Baton says this is one for the books.
We generally don't get called to calls for wild turkeys that are broken into apartments.
Captain Baton says he's proud of the way the officers handled the situation, and it shows how his department is able to roll with the punches.
It really underscores the unpredictable nature of the job that our officers are asked to do at any given time.
On her end, Madden's glad the situation wasn't something more serious.
I think it's kind of funny. I'm just glad it wasn't my apartment.
Still trying to figure out why that turkey was in there.
Maybe he was...
Do you think a turkey would make a good pet?
No. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think they can be a bit aggressive, and
Maybe
I'm
he
not
was
so
in
sure.
somebody's pot, like ready to be cooked, and he said no.
I would certainly hope not, but I could see where that's a possibility maybe. Or maybe they just brought him in, they were ready to cook him up, or they were just raising him, and he said, you know what, I know what's going on here. I'm getting out of town. And then somehow landed up in somebody's apartment.
Somehow, on the second floor.
On the second floor, yes.
Yeah. Mystery.
Very, very strange, very strange. Hopefully you don't have any turkeys coming into your house, because you're going to be able to leave the windows open tonight. We'll talk about that in your forecast next. Skywatch storm tracker is clear this morning, and here's why. Look at the clear skies over Joplin right now as the sun starts to creep on up there. Starting the day off pretty nice, too. 71 degrees in Joplin. We've got Yates Center at 69, Iola 66, Fort Scott at 66. He heads a little further south. We've got 74 in Parsons, 71 in Independence, 72 in Welch and Miami. Not a bad start to the day at all. Now, the temperatures are going to slowly creep up to about 91, maybe some lower 90s for some of us. And then they're going to get downright cold by August standards. I keep saying that, but I mean, that's really the only way to describe this as we hit overnight lows in the 60s. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, a tractor trailer overturns in Jasper County and takes the life of the driver.
Got some fog to start the day. As the sun comes up, we'll have mostly clear skies and a pretty decent day. We'll tell you all about it in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Missourians have enjoyed and relied on archery for decades. And now lawmakers take aim to make it the official state sport.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So that little open, I think we had it last week too. That's where we are. I mean, not live as it happens because it's not that bright outside, but we're in that building.
There you go.
That's pretty neat. That's what our building looks like for those who haven't made it out here. It's a nice building.
That it is.
It's, hey, for 70 years old, it could be a lot. Well, almost 70 years old, it could be a lot.
We take
worse.
care of it. We try
do.
to anyway.
We do. There's a lot of history in here. There's a lot of history in this room alone. So, anyway, we've been talking about history all morning long. So, that's just a fun reminder that there's a lot of history right where we're standing. In terms of history, well, the decent days are about to be history. Now, right now, it's 7th and Rangeline. Sun's starting to creep up there. It is nice in Joplin, 71 to start the day. A lot of us starting in the mid-60s to lower 70s, 66 Fort Scott, 71 in Columbus, 72 in Miami. Not a bad start for an August morning. Temperatures will slowly creep up through the day into the lower 90s, 91 for an afternoon high for most of us. And then there's going to be a warming trend, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the 7-day forecast. And as we head through the night, check this out. You leave your windows open, turn the AC off completely, just give it a nice break, because it's going to need a break. We'll talk about that in the 7-day forecast as well. But otherwise, overnight tonight, look at this. We're talking mid-60s. Some of us up north could even see the lower 60s to start our Thursday. I'm always a day behind on the mornings. But to start our Thursday, we're talking lower 60s. It'll be quiet, cool, a calm night, clear skies, and a light east breeze at 5 to 10. So the perfect night to open the windows, relax, and enjoy before it starts to warm up again.
Definitely a great night to give those AC units a break.
Yeah, this is the perfect time to do it because they're going to need that break for the next few days that are coming up.
Yeah, hard to believe it's going to be that low and then heat up so hot.
Yeah, but that's the 4 states. You don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It'll change pretty quickly around here. So.
True that. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a tractor-trailer accident in Jasper County takes the life of the driver. At about 1 on Tuesday afternoon, authorities responded to reports of a serious crash on Baseline Boulevard near Civil War Road. 64-year-old Mark Tidwell was driving a 1988 Freightliner pulling a lime spreader west on Baseline Boulevard when his vehicle went off the right side of the road and overturned. The driver was ejected from his vehicle. Authorities pronounced Tidwell dead at the scene. The Jasper County coroner claimed the body and next of kin was notified. Voters get to decide recreational cannabis in Missouri this November. Now, if voters decide to legalize recreational marijuana, Missouri will become the 20th state to legalize and tax the drug. However, some people believe Missouri should keep cannabis for medical use only.
Ideally, I like the system kind of like what we have now. You have to go see a doctor, you have to have some type of pre-qualifying condition or need it for some reason, and you actually have to talk to a human.
Oklahoma could also see recreational marijuana on the ballot this November. One group has already turned in signatures for a ballot question. Another is gathering signatures that would mean voters decide on an amendment allowing recreational use. Now, later in the show, our own Amber Jenkins talks to local cannabis activists and business owners about this burning question. Archery can draw on a long and popular history, whether it's for hunting or sport. And right here in Missouri, on Tuesday, lawmakers recognized archery as its official state sport. Missouri has a significant connection to bow hunting and the archery industry. One of Missouri's most significant ties to archery, the compound bow. That's a show me state connection to the sport that is well documented, but somewhat forgotten. Archery hunting is also a favorite pastime, with Missouri's first archery season taking place in 1946 in Crawford County. Publishers Clearinghouse wants to warn people about a scam going around the area again. They say if someone calls you and claims they're from PCH and that you've won a prize and then ask for a payment to claim a prize, do not go any further. PCH says all of their prizes are free and they will not require payment. So if someone tries to get money from you, it is a scam. Albuquerque police have a 51-year-old man from Afghanistan in custody, charged with 2 of the 4 murders of Muslim men over the past year. As Omar Villafranca reports, it appears he knew his victims.
Albuquerque's nightmare is over after police arrested a man for the murders of 2 Muslim men. Investigators believe he may be involved in killing 2 other Muslim men over the past 9 months.
This crime made our community feel like he was under attack.
Police Chief Harold Medina says 51-year-old Mohammed Syed is charged with 2 counts of homicide, and the district attorney's office is working on charges related to the other 2. More than 200 tips poured in as the manhunt intensified, many from the Muslim community. On Sunday, police released a picture of a car they believe was used in the shootings.
We knew Albuquerque would step up and somebody would find and identify that vehicle for us, which is exactly what happened.
While a SWAT team executed a search warrant at his home Monday, the suspect was arrested in that car more than 100 miles away in Santa Rosa, New Mexico.
Multiple firearms were recovered from that home. Right now we believe that at least one of them inside the home and one of them inside the car that was pulled over are matching to our 2 crime scenes.
Officials also discovered evidence that shows Syed knew the victims and said an interpersonal conflict may have led to the shootings. Mohammed Zahir Ahmadi was killed in November.
My lovely brother.
Sharif Hadi says the family fled Afghanistan to escape the violence.
When we came to the United States, we thought we were safe. Look at it, what's going on right now?
Police are continuing increased patrols around Albuquerque's mosques and Islamic centers to help the community feel safe. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Albuquerque.
Police have not yet detailed the exact motive for the shootings. Well, if you are ever on the go and want to still be able to watch our newscast live, just download the KOAM Plus app. It's available free of charge on the app store of your choice. Just search for KOAM Plus. Well, on this day in 1937, the electric guitar, the instrument that revolutionized jazz, blues, and country music and made the later rise of rock and roll possible, was recognized by the United States Patent Office.
And with the award of patent number 2000-089.171 to G.D. Koam for an instrument known as the Rickenbacker frying pan.
Interesting.
The Patent Office approved the majority of Beach Camp's claims, primarily those relating to the unique design of the frying pan's pickup, a heavy electromagnet that surrounded the base of the steel strings like a bracelet rather than sitting below them as on a modern electric guitar. Unfortunately for the Electro String Corporation, Koam's specific invention had long since been obsolesced by the innovations of various competitors, rendering the patent awarded on this day in 1937 an item of greater historical importance than economic value.
Interesting.
Certainly interesting. And then, of course, we've all put in for the patent for the air guitar.
Mine's better.
Yeah, yours is probably a lot better. You know what also is going to be better? temperatures today.
Yes.
Still going to be hot, but not too shabby. Temperatures will warm into the lower 90s under very clear skies. Tonight, though, they cool off quite nicely. Some of us even into the lower 60s to start our day. Check out Fort Scott, for example, 62. But the warm weather does return. Take a look at the 7-day forecast. Starting tomorrow, it starts to heat up. Clear skies. Lower 100s to start the week next week. And then you see Tuesday. Yeah, it's going to be 101, but you see thunderstorms, and those thunderstorm chances build into Wednesday with a system that's going to bring us some rain and some relief from the heat and some cooler temperatures there, as you can see. I mean, cool compared to 102. It'll be 90, 91 degrees instead. So we're going to get hot, but we're going to get a break as well, which is something I think we can live with.
There we go. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Tara Solomon-Smith and Melanie Smith are going to join us live in studio to talk about the ABCDs of Medicare.
That sounds so interesting. We'll be talking a lot about that. Some information you need. Plus, hope for a new weapon against Lyme disease.
It's the most common tick-borne disease in the U.S. I'm Michael George with details on a new vaccine that could prevent Lyme disease.
And the unprecedented FBI search of former President Trump's Florida home is still raising many questions, and many Republicans are calling for answers. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, the unprecedented FBI search of former President Trump's Florida home is still raising many questions. Republicans are rallying around the former president, and they're calling for answers about the search and investigation, said to be focused on Trump's potential mishandling of what could be classified material. Trinity Chavez has more from New York.
Republican leaders rallied around former President Donald Trump and demanded investigations after the FBI executed a search warrant at his Florida estate.
I think every Republican believes that the FBI, when it comes to Trump and other organizations, have lost their mind.
You've never done this to a former president. So if this was going to be the case, shouldn't the Attorney General lay out to the American people today? Shouldn't that have been the very first thing, explaining why?
Sources tell CBS News the search was connected to a Justice Department investigation of claims by the National Archives that have found 15 boxes of records at Mar-a-Lago earlier this year. The documents are believed to contain classified information. Trump and federal investigators had been in negotiations over the records, and the FBI visited Mar-a-Lago in June.
It's certainly a very, very significant development that criminal charges are at least being contemplated and are the basis for this unprecedented action by the FBI.
Mishandling classified material is potentially criminal. Federal law requires presidential records to be turned over to the National Archives. It is not known what documents were taken by federal authorities Monday. The Justice Department has so far declined to comment. In an interview, Christina Bobb, a lawyer for Trump, said investigators revealed they were looking for classified information that they think should not have been removed from the White House, as well as presidential records. Trinity Chavez, CBS News, New York.
It is the first time in American history that a search warrant has been issued on a former president. White House officials say President Biden had no prior knowledge of the search. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. If it's Wednesday, you know what that means. We have another Wildcat Wednesday today. And today we have Tara Solomon-Smith from the K-State Extension Office and Melanie Smith from the Southeast Kansas Area Agency on Aging's SHIC or SHIC coordinator. We're going to be talking about the A, B, C, and D's of Medicare. So ladies, welcome to the show. And I know just from doing my laundry early in the morning and watching all the infomercials, that's part A, part B, part C, and part D. And I'm glad I'm not there yet because that does seem extraordinarily confusing. So you're also working though on a program to help out with some of that confusion, which is something I'll be taking advantage of at some point in my life. So tell me a little bit about the program. What are you all going to be offering?
Basically, introduction to people new to Medicare on just what Medicare A, B, C, D involves. It's very confusing for people, and we just want to make sure that they're well informed, adequately informed. That's the mission of SHIC, to inform and educate people for Medicare insurance so they can make right decisions.
And that's got to be something that's tough for anybody to navigate, because, I mean, for me, I see the ads, I hear about A, B, C, D, I don't know anything about what they are, and it is almost terrifying from even this early in my life to know that that's something that's coming up. So what do you do for those that get in there and they have no idea what they're doing or what to even look at for this?
We just try to thoroughly present every part of it, and that's the nice thing about our agency and our group is we're there from the beginning, and we'll also be there in the middle when they have questions or anything comes up. We help them all through every stage of Medicare to inform them. So.
And you're right, the ads out there and the information out there can be confusing and lead you maybe in the wrong direction, maybe in the right direction, but we enjoy meeting with people even one-on-one. It doesn't have to be at our presentations. We love to meet with people where they are and just make sure that they have what they need, what's best for their particular situation.
And is that something you run into? Maybe folks that come in, they've seen these ads, because I know a lot of them focus on Part D, and it makes you feel like that's the only one you need is Part D, because all these ads focus on that. Is that something you run into where there may have even been a little more confusion from all these ads they see on TV about Medicare?
We do run into that, yeah. There's a couple of different ways that you can set up your Medicare. And again, it just depends on that person's situation, what's best. And in a rural area, sometimes it's different. What might be better for a person in a rural area is different. So that's why it's good to really know all your options through Medicare, and even at, like Melanie said, any step that you're in. August 31st at 6 p.m. is going to really talk about the broad spectrum, and then we're going to be there to answer questions as well.
Gotcha. And so tell me a little bit about that. What will people, what can they expect when they get there? What is it that they can look forward to in terms of getting the help that they need to get set up on the right path?
Yeah. Basically, we will go from level 1 on, the purposes of Medicare, what each of those A, B, C, D mean, and also like what they need supplemental insurance. We'll help them in knowing and understanding that, and the prescription drug part, and just any common questions that come up. We're going to answer those for them. It's very thorough.
Now, should folks wait until they're at age to be eligible for Medicare? Or should they maybe come in, a few months early, maybe a year early, and just kind of start the process of understanding what Medicare is?
Yes, definitely, because there's different things. A lot of people now have health savings accounts, and you do need to plan when you have one of those on how to stop or when to stop your contributions, so you can be ready to take on the Medicare. Just a lot of things. We often recommend 6 months ahead to check things out.
All right, that's not a bad plan, because again, I imagine that does get a little confusing. If you wait until the last minute, you may be missing out on a window of opportunity for benefits because you don't have the right stuff picked out.
Yes.
And when folks come in, I mean, do you find that they do leave a little bit more informed, that they feel better about switching into Medicare than when they first got there?
We do hear that, and we also will have some material that, again, they can take home, review it a little bit more, give us a call back as they study it a little more and have other particular questions. So they'll leave with some resources as well.
All right. So just one more time, you have an event coming up. When's that going to be? Where's that going to be? And what all will you cover?
Yes, Wednesday, August 31st at 6 p.m. in Parsons at the Southeast Research and Extension Center. We're going to be providing a large overview of Medicare, what your options are within Medicare, and what those options mean, and really spell things out within those.
It certainly sounds helpful. Like I said, I'm still a few years from that point, but this is something that I would definitely take advantage of, because I know I wouldn't have the first clue what I was doing when it came to this. And I imagine it's something you run into, is a lot of folks that come in that don't even have the first clue as to what they're doing. They don't even have a guess as to what might be good for them.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You almost do it just once in this case, and we're always learning new things, so it is overwhelming, and we're here to help.
I know there's, again, those ads reference there's been changes to Medicare this year, so I'm sure that gets a little confusing even on your end to keep up with what they change on everything. So, all right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for coming in. Of course, you can find more information on our website, on when this is and how you can get there and what you need to do to make sure you are signed up, because you do need to RSVP. There's no cost, but you do have to RSVP for it. So, all right, ladies, thank you so much for coming in. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, Lyme disease is the most common tick-borne disease in the U.S. and cases are increasing. And now researchers are looking for volunteers in the U.S. and Europe to test a new vaccine to prevent Lyme disease. Michael George has more.
When Robert Terwilliger heard about a study testing a vaccine for Lyme disease, he rolled up his sleeve. He enjoys hunting and hiking.
I'm hoping it works this way. I won't have no worries, you know. I can go out in the woods and enjoy myself, and if I find a tick on me, okay, I'm good. I don't have to worry about anything, you know, because it's always a worry.
U.S.-based Pfizer and a French biotech company developed the experimental vaccine known as VLA15, which aims to block a tick from transmitting the infection when it bites.
It's a vaccine that's designed to prevent Lyme disease caused by the 6 most common types of Lyme bacteria in both the US and Europe.
Deer ticks carry the bacteria that causes Lyme. Symptoms include fever, headache, fatigue. For some, the first sign is a red, round bullseye rash. Infection can spread to joints, the heart, and the nervous system if not treated. CDC estimates suggest around 476,000 people get Lyme disease each year in the U.S. Researchers hope to enroll at least 6,000 people in areas where Lyme disease is common, such as the Northeast. Volunteers can be as young as 5 years old.
Ever since we learned of this trial several months ago, we've had people on a waiting list waiting to be notified. So absolutely, we have people who are interested.
In earlier studies, the companies reported a good immune response and no problems with safety. The next phase will test if the vaccine is effective and safe. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Participants will receive 3 doses between now and next spring and then a booster a year later. That's a look at one of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Well, the Skywatch storm tracker is looking pretty clear. You got to go far out to find any kind of precipitation, and that is being reflected on our tower cam at 7th and Rangeline. As you can see, just some passing clouds. There is some fog in the low-lying areas, and it will burn off as the sun comes on up, which it is doing so right now. And in Joplin right now, it's 71 degrees to start the day, and we're all starting the day really nice considering that we're in August. We got 66 Iola and Fort Scott, 65 in Nevada, and then we've got 70 in Grove, 71 in Miami. It is going to warm up, but it will do so slowly. It'll still be a hot day, but not as hot as it could be for this time of year. 91 for an afternoon high under clear skies. But again, those temperatures start to pick up a little bit, and then they'll pick up a lot, which we'll go over a little later. But through the night, though, not bad either. Overnight lows in the mid to lower 60s in some places with a light east breeze and clear skies. Perfect night to give that AC a break, open up the windows. It's going to need that break, and we'll tell you about that a little bit later when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, a tractor trailer overturns in Jasper County and takes the life of the driver.
Plus, the sun is coming up and the temperatures will rise slowly behind it. We'll break it all down in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Missourians have enjoyed and relied on archery for decades, and now lawmakers take aim to make it the official state sport.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. You are very happy this morning.
Well,
I mean, that's not to say you're not happy most mornings, but you're very happy this morning.
Okay,
very bubbly this morning.
Well, thank you, Chris.
I like, you know, it resonates, you know, that radiates off of somebody when they're in a good mood. You get into a good mood too, you know.
This helps.
I was going to say, that's probably why you're in such a good mood. See, I stopped having my second cup of coffee in the morning. I'm thinking maybe I should go back to that.
Sometimes I have coffee with a lot of sugar. Sometimes I have a soda.
See, and I just take my coffee the way it goes.
Healthiest option at all, by any means. Not promoting people to be unhealthy, just telling you what I do.
But here's the deal, though. You've been doing this, what, 14 years?
17.
Okay. 17 years.
In October,
so,
17 years in October.
Oh, my gosh. So,
take that back. Only 16 on the morning show.
Oh, only 16. 17 years here, but only 16 on the morning show. That 1 year makes all the difference. I would say you've probably figured out the best morning routine by now, and if you haven't, we're in trouble.
It works. I make it work.
I'll have to start mirroring your routine, though. I might have to change my caffeine choice, but yeah. Good day for caffeine, too, because check out the skies at 7th and Range Line. If you're starting the day, it's beautiful. We got some fog in the low-lying areas that'll burn off shortly as the sun comes up. 71 in Joplin right now. We've still got mid-60s up north in Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, Stockton. The rest of us in the lower 70s as we start our day. As we go through the day, temperatures will rise slowly into the lower 90s, 91 for an afternoon high for most of us. As we go through the night, check out these overnight lows dropping into the mid-60s, and some of our northern counties may see the lower 60s. You're going to want to give your AC a break, open up the windows tonight because it's going to need that break. We'll talk about the 7-day forecast in a little bit and why your AC needs that break tonight.
Just don't feel tempted to turn the heater on because it will warm up.
No, yeah, absolutely. Do not turn the heat on tonight, all right? If it gets a little too chilly, just close the windows.
There you go.
Do not turn the heat on. Yeah. That's not
Trap that cool air in because you'll want it tomorrow.
You will not want to do that because it's going to be warm tomorrow and it's going to stay that way for a few days.
That's right. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a tractor-trailer accident in Jasper County takes the life of the driver. About 1 Tuesday afternoon, authorities responded to reports of a serious crash on Baseline Boulevard near Civil War Road. 64-year-old Mark Tidwell was driving a 1988 Freightliner pulling a lime spreader west on Baseline Boulevard when his vehicle went off the right side of the road and overturned. The driver was ejected from his vehicle. Authorities pronounced Tidwell dead at the scene. The Jasper County coroner claimed the body and next of kin was notified. Cherokee County Clerk announces a mistake with a county election. County Clerk Rebecca Brasser discovered that the thumb drives containing the voting data for District 1 County Commissioner race had malfunctioned. Officials say the drives improperly switched votes cast for incumbent Mira Frazier and attributed them to the challenger Lance Nichols. Brassert says the drives worked properly during testing.
Unfortunately, there was no way to know. The testing didn't show it. Putting them in the ECM didn't show it. Unfortunately, there was just no way for us to know without doing that post-audit, which I believe is why the Secretary of State's office has put that into play. It became in play, I believe, in January of 2019. And so it's something fairly new, but it's to ensure the integrity of elections.
Lockwood Elections is responsible for programming the thumb drives, and next Monday, Cherokee County will continue the certification of results. On Tuesday, Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis spoke about last week's primary election. Davis spoke to the Joplin Kiwanis Club. It was the first public discussion about the system procedures, problems, and solutions pertaining to the August 2nd election. Turnout and future election procedurals were also discussed.
One of the things we do is I come to the local Kiwanis clubs, the Rotary clubs, and I just educate people about the election process. And of course, the question and answer time that we have kind of answers questions that people have that might concern them about the election.
Kiwanis Club is the oldest club in the state of Missouri and raises money to help children. Recreational marijuana will fire up the ballot this November in Missouri. If passed, it would allow those 21 and older to use marijuana recreationally. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke to people on both sides of the issue and has more.
Only medical use of cannabis is legal in the state of Missouri. However, that could change by November. Voters will decide whether to make Missouri the 20th state to legalize recreational marijuana.
Recreational, I may not choose this ballot initiative to pass, but recreational cannabis does not frighten me. I actually am a proponent for having a choice over using alcohol or other types of things to use cannabis, whether it's recreational or medicinal. It all has a medical purpose.
In addition to possibly legalizing recreational use, voters will decide if nonviolent marijuana offenses could get expunged.
I'm for it just because, I'm doing the same thing that they've got in trouble for. So, there's no sense in people still having a record as long as it's nonviolent, nothing crazy like a big cartel or something like that.
Others believe cannabis should only be used for medical reasons.
My stance on it, I'm not for the recreational use of cannabis because I don't personally believe that there is a recreational use for it. I believe it's all some form of medical.
Buck says the cannabis regulations in place now are enough.
I like seeing people put forth the efforts and seeing a professional and going through certain steps to be able to get their med card and try to understand what they need out of the use of cannabis.
Supporters view this as more than just legalizing recreational cannabis.
I think expungement absolutely needs to be part of the process, and that we should not have people in cages for plants.
Reporting in Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Recreational marijuana could also be on the ballot in Oklahoma this November, and one group has already turned in signatures for a ballot question. Another is gathering signatures that would mean voters decide on an amendment allowing recreational use. If we could pop up our something to talk about question right now, that's what we've been asking today.
That brings us to our morning talker this morning is, do you think that marijuana should be legal across the board? And so far, 67% of you say yes, 33% of you say no. Remember, you can vote at koamnewsnow.com/vote, and of course do so in the app. And you can take part in discussion on Facebook, so make sure that you do vote. So,
all right. Well, on this date in 1981, Pete Rose of the Philadelphia Phillies gets the 3,631st hit of his baseball career, breaking Stan Musial's record for most hits by a National Leaguer.
Now, the record-breaking hit came in a game against St. Louis Cardinals, team with whom Musial had spent his entire career, and the former hits king was on hand to congratulate Rose. The record-breaking hit came in only Rose's 2,886th game. It had taken Musial 3,026 games to set the mark. Rose finished his career with a record total of 4,256 hits. That is an impressive career. I can't say that I could do that myself. So, quick look at the future track shows us we will warm up slowly today. We're going to be pushing highs in the lower 90s across the board, and then it gets downright cold tonight with temperatures dropping in the mid to even lower 60s for some of us. But as we promised on the 7-day forecast, the heat does return, as you can see, as we head into the weekend and next week, lower 100s. But we do have some storm chances on Tuesday, and they'll build into Wednesday and bring us some lower temperatures. So a brief moment of heat, and then it'll cool back down just a little bit after some rain. So we can handle that, I think.
There you go.
Take a few days of heat and spread some rain in there.
Yes.
Makes it a lot better.
Quit letting it heat back up, though, Chris. You need to keep it down.
I'm doing everything I can. I've done what I can to bring more rain chances, and that's kind of helping out. It's the heat I don't have under control yet, but I'm trying. I'm trying for you.
All right. Well, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Online shoppers may finally be catching a break as the prices of things like smartphones and tablets are on a decline.
Plus, voters in Missouri will soon have the chance to vote on the legalization of recreational marijuana this number. So we've been asking you this question all morning. Make sure you vote on our website through the app and take part of the discussion on our Facebook page.
We'll check in again in our next hour as well.
We certainly will. We'll be right back with more of the KOAM Morning News.
Stocks gave up ground on Wall Street Tuesday. Chipmaker Micron Technology warned of weaker demand. The Dow fell 58 points. The tech-heavy NASDAQ dropped 150 and the S&P fell 17. Today, investors await the government's July Consumer Price Index. Economists forecast inflation ease slightly from June. Matt Piper has more on the day's latest business headlines.
There are new indications that online shoppers are finally seeing lower prices for non-essential goods like electronics, including TVs, smartphones, tablets, and cameras. Prices in the largest online spending category slid at an annual rate of 9.3% in July. That's according to the Adobe Digital Price Index. At the same time, online prices for groceries and pet products surged. Overall, though, online prices have fallen 1% from a year ago. A federal judge in California rules that 3 golfers who joined Saudi-backed Live Golf will not be able to compete in the PGA Tour's postseason. The judge denied a temporary restraining order for the golfers who were among a group suspended from the PGA Tour. The judge says she does not think the 3 faced irreparable harm because of the money they were guaranteed by joining Live. Last week, 10 golfers, including Phil Mickelson, filed an antitrust lawsuit against the PGA Tour over the Live controversy. And Chipotle Mexican Grill will pay $20 million to current and former workers at its New York City restaurants for violating city labor laws. Mayor Eric Adams announced the settlement between the city and the California-based fast food chain. According to investigators, Chipotle's violations of the city's Fair Workweek law included failing to post work schedules 14 days in advance.
That's it for Consumer Watch. It's almost time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first let's head up and over to Manhattan to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you, I'm Gail King, coming right up on CBS Mornings in our latest edition of The Dish. Vlad samples some gourmet sandwiches where the chef combines his passion for food with a little bit of rock and roll. Chew it up, Vlad. I think you'd like that. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Howard Pollock. Howard Pollock served in the Air Force, and during his service, he earned the National Defense Service Medal as well as the Good Conduct Medal. A native of Mulberry, Kansas, we thank you, today's four-state hero, Howard Pollock.
It is time on this beautiful Wednesday morning to celebrate some birthdays and anniversaries, and we begin in Jasper with Zane Etchison, turning 4 years old today. Zane there, pictured with his great-grandpa GW's tractor. A very happy birthday to you, Zane, and just wait till you're old enough to drive that tractor.
I like it. GW's even got his name on the
Yes,
tractor,
he does.
too. That's cool. All right, Delana Wells celebrating birthday number 9 this year in Miami. Happy birthday, Delana.
And down in Miami as well is Jagger Humble, turning 13 years old today. Jagger is pictured here at the Ark Encounter in Williamstown, Kentucky. That's just an absolutely fascinating place.
Yeah,
Jagger,
cool.
happy birthday to you and enjoy your many travels.
I like that face there, Jagger. Hope you have a happy birthday. Kim Taft celebrating birthday number 52 this year. She only looked 32, that's why I said that.
I'm sure she's only
Yes.
32. We all stop aging
I think
at
the
a certain
52 is a
point.
misprint. We'll go with that. Kim is celebrating in Quapaw.
And we've got John Bauer in Thayer celebrating birthday number 57. Now, I'm going to take a guess, but I'm going to believe that John is the gentleman in the striped blue shirt on the far right.
You're only as old as you feel.
Exactly. John, happy birthday to you.
You got a great group of kids there with you. All right, and Robin Shipley turning 62 years old this year. Looking great there, Robin, in Chanute.
We've also got Doug Westervelt celebrating a birthday in Columbus. Nicole Earl down in Sarcoxy turning 19 today. Nikolai Stipp turning 5 in Erie, and Jesse Church turning 64 in Miami.
Out in Erie, Kevin Sands is celebrating. These birthday wishes come for your friends on North Lincoln. And Sean Haggerty in Frontenac, happy birthday to you. Also, birthday wishes going out to Shay Eckhart in Columbus.
Very happy birthday to everybody involved, and Tanya's going to tell you where you can send those birthdays to make sure that we celebrate with you.
You can always send them to us through email at birthdays with an S. Don't forget that S at KOAMTV.com. Be sure to send in a picture and the date of the birthday that you'd like us to air it on. And you can also go to our website at birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com.
And remember, just because it's a weekend birthday doesn't mean we can't celebrate during the week. It just means you get a longer birthday celebration. And while you're celebrating your birthday, you might as well do so in style by signing up for the KOAM Birthday Club. You get special deals from local businesses to help celebrate your big day. All you got to do is go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. So, look at this. Let me get out of the way. I'm blocking the whole pretty view here. Sun is coming up. It's a beautiful morning. You can still see some distant fog. That'll be burning off as the sun rises. In Joplin right now, it is 71 degrees, which is really nice considering that it's August the 10th already. Look at some of these other temperatures. Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott in the 60s still right now. For the rest of us, we're at 70 or in the very low 70s to start our day, which is a beautiful way to start August across the 4 states. So it's going to be hot today, not nearly as hot as it usually could be for this time of year, but hot nonetheless. Temperatures pushing into the low 90s, 91 for an afternoon high for most of us. And the thing is, they're going to slowly creep up to that point too. And because of that, it's going to get chilly tonight. You can open the windows. I was going to say doors. Don't do that. Don't leave your doors open. Open your windows. Let the AC have a break. It's going to need it. Overnight lows in the mid to even lower 60s. Calm, quiet, clear, and cool. The future track shows nothing in terms of precipitation, only nice clear skies and decent temperatures. As we head into early tomorrow morning, look at this. This is what I'm talking about, like Fort Scott, Iola in the lower 60s. And a quick check of the 7-day forecast does show us temperatures are going to warm back up as we head into Thursday and Friday, and then they really warm up as we head through the weekend and into the start of next week with lower 100s. Tuesday brings us some storm chances, and those storm chances could last into Wednesday, and they'll help bring the temperatures down. So I think we can make it through some of these hot days, because then we're going to get a nice break with some rain and some lower 90s for temperatures. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A tractor-trailer accident in Jasper County takes the life of the driver at about 1 on Tuesday afternoon. Authorities responded to reports of a serious crash on Baseline Boulevard near Civil War Road. 64-year-old Mark Tidwell was driving a 1988 Freightliner pulling a lime spreader west on Baseline Boulevard when his vehicle went off the right side of the road and overturned. The driver was ejected from his vehicle. Authorities pronounced Tidwell dead at the scene. And the Jasper County coroner claimed the body and next of kin was notified. Recreational cannabis will appear on Missouri's ballot this November. If voters decide to legalize recreational cannabis, Missouri will become the 20th state to legalize and tax the drug. However, some people believe Missouri should keep marijuana for medical use only. Cherokee County Clerk announces a mistake with a county election. County Clerk Rebecca Brassert discovered the thumb drives containing the voting data for District 1 County Commissioner malfunctioned. Officials say the drives improperly switched votes cast for incumbent Mira Frazier and attributed them to challenger Lance Nichols. Brassert said the drives worked properly during testing. And on Tuesday, Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis spoke about last week's primary election. Davis spoke to the Joplin Kiwanis Club. It was the first public discussion about the system procedures, problems, and solutions pertaining to the August 2nd election. Turnout and future election procedurals were also discussed. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We've got a pretty nice start to the day today, and temperatures will slowly warm up into the lower 90s under partly cloudy to mostly clear skies, and then a warming trend will begin. We'll talk about that in just a second, but it doesn't begin tonight. Check out these overnight lows, getting under mostly clear skies, getting back into the mid to lower 60s for most of us. A nice, quiet, cool, calm night. The light northeast breeze at 5 to 10 miles an hour. As we look into the future on the 7-day, temperatures start to progressively warm up as we head into the weekend. Then we get into the lower 100s to start next week. But you see storm chances on Tuesday, and that's a good sign because there's a system coming in. Those storm chances stick around into Wednesday. Check out what it does to the temperatures, an 11-degree drop. Now 90, of course, is still hot, but it's going to be pretty pleasant compared to that. And unlike last month where we dealt with 100 degree with no relief whatsoever, at least going into next week, and just like we saw this past week, it got hot. And then Monday and Tuesday we saw storms. It cooled off a bit. It's going to do the same thing again about a week from now where it's going to get hot, and then we'll get some showers and storms and it'll cool off again a little bit. So we're in a nice little pattern right now.
It's a nice little roller coaster of temperatures there, but hopefully it keeps going lower and lower.
We've still got to get through September, and you guys know that September can still be pretty toasty around here. It's usually not till October where we start to see a brief look at fall temperatures before winter suddenly sets in. So, but we've still got a little bit of time to get there.
I would like to have an expanded fall this year. That'd be nice.
It'd be nice to have a fall period around here.
True that. Well, speaking of fall, it's nice to sit out by the campfire, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you can't do that, coming up today at noon, we're making toasty s'mores pie in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
That sounds really, man, he's been making some really good food here lately.
That's pretty good.
Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Serena Williams, one of the most prominent American athletes, is set to retire. Coming up on CBS Mornings, why she plans to step away from tennis and the details of her last tournament.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14 where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we've got Robin Standridge from Wildcat Glades stopping by the studio to talk about crawdads at the creek and why you should bring a hearty appetite.
We'll see you over on Fox 14 and again tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.